Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Bowl TV. My name is Matt Canizaro, and you have tuned in for another exciting episode of the Inside the OC podcast. I have a great guest coming on today, along with my co-host Aaron Smith. Let's just get right to it. We've got some good conversation for you today, no doubt, about a great champion in our sport. Aaron Smith, welcome back to Inside the OC one more time.
Hey, Matt. Good to see you again, and hello to everybody watching. Yeah, right for another great edition of the podcast here. Another great guest lined up. So, this gentleman won in one of our favorite towns, El Paso. So that's already great. He's had a few victories in El Paso as well, looking back at his collegiate days too. So that's all pretty cool. So looking forward to it.
Well, now based on the intro picture to today's podcast, he's been very good at bowling for a long time with success at every level, as you mentioned, collegiately. That photo was with Team USA. And for me and him, we go way back to the beginning of my career at USBC, 2005, Junior Team USA. We were at the Tournament of the Americas in Florida. So, again, a history, a great career in the making. He's still pretty young. That was actually half of his lifetime ago now. So the longer I stick around, the more I get to see these folks grow up. Back that year, I was chasing him around the bowling center, trying to get him to do a blog for me on bowl.com. And now he's chasing around two kids and having a grown up life. We're going to hear all about that on today's show. Really, again, looking forward to talking about the evolution and the growth of this young man. Ronnie Sparks Jr. is the gentleman, 2015 regular singles champ at the Open Championships. You mentioned El Paso. We'll talk all about that great city as well. Let's bring him in and let him do the storytelling. Folks, Ronnie Sparks Jr.
Hey, what's going on, fellas? How you guys doing?
Doing well, Ronnie. Doing well.
Cool.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Again, as we got caught up last night, just to hear about life for you and how far you've come since those days in Florida back in 2005. It's awesome. And that just means I've been around for a long time. But the continuity to be able to see, the growth and the progress. So really looking forward to hearing some of those stories. But as we get going, we generally like to just catch up, see how life is. Of course, 2020 was pretty insane. And now easing into 2021 for you in Michigan, the bowling world just coming back to life. But even more important, your family, your wife, part of the front lines, right? So let's hear about that and what the last year has been like, because that really for her especially probably turned the world upside down.
Oh man, yeah, that was 2020 was it was a crazy year, man. When the bowling first shut down, it was just like no one really, obviously no one knew what was going on. You know what I mean? Like, just the bowling alley shut down, and we're hearing like this case of this, and you're just hearing it. At that time, media's going crazy, so you just hear from everywhere, so many angles and stuff. And she's coming home and she's giving me these numbers, and she's just kind of telling me like, yeah, it's kind of crazy. You know what I mean? Because I'm not a person that kind of likes to get caught up in that type of that type of stuff, just because the information you don't know, so you just don't. When it's something so serious, you don't want to get too worked up. So it's like using her always to kind of have a radar, and then I would tell my friends, if I had to like keep them calm, or be like, hey, no, man, this is pretty serious, man. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta be up on this. So then starting with that, just getting used to that big change was crazy, and then it kind of hit immediately, man. For me, with her being in the hospital, that it was serious. And that my focus, it was time to change it. Like, that it wasn't time to think about bowling. You know what I'm saying? It was time to think about my family and their health. You know what I'm saying? Because it was like, all right, we got to go shop for all this stuff, the grocery shopping with all that, the lines being crazy, So you start really thinking of some serious stuff. And so having a family, the bowling stuff kind of goes away pretty quick. You don't think about it. You know what I mean? And so my main goals were to help her with her mental state, because I knew it was going to be stressful for her coming home. Like, it's just the stuff she's going in with, seeing them drop off freezers and stuff, thinking of the numbers where things are about to go, and you know what I'm saying? And just, thinking of she's working around people that are just crazy atmosphere. So my goal was when she came home was to be like, hey, we're here, let's have fun, the family's good, we've been great, you know what I'm saying? Just because I knew she needed that more than any of us, you know what I'm saying? To because after a while, she feels bad because she was like, man, am I being a good mom? Like, I'm gone. I feel drained. So, our main focus was to let her know, like, you're doing great, and, we're here ready for you and stuff. So, like, the bowling part for me, it was kind of easy for me to kind of put on the back burner for a second and just kind of accept what was going on. And once my focus dialed into that, even the kind of outside world, we just kind of was like, all right, well, we got to do this. Well, let's do that. Because we were just so dialed in at that point with each other. You know what I'm saying? Like it was kind of nice for a dark situation.
Well, we appreciate, of course, Sarah and all of her hard work and dedication and everything that she's done, and for you to take things under control at home and be able to be that stability for her. That had to be awesome. And as you mentioned last night, giving her the opportunity to focus on what she had to do outside of the house and come home and know that everything was handled. And then for you at the same time, an opportunity to take on that new role in some ways and spend some quality time with the family and just, really see things in the world just a little bit differently. And tell us about that and the things that you got to do and enjoy during a crazy time that you wouldn't have otherwise had the chance to do and experience.
Yeah, no, like the weekends were open, and not at that point. Actually, the weekends didn't matter because all the days seemed the same. You know what I mean? It was no days were different. So but like even though it started in the winter time, still with the shutdown, it went when the weather got warm. And I just remember we were like, man, the summer, we actually got a long summer again. We actually, we were complaining about how much the water balloons were because everybody was buying them, we couldn't find them because it was just like everybody was actually staying at home and playing in the backyards and stuff. So, but, so it was just stuff like that, just like I said, just trying to find things around here with just fun things to do, just being within ourselves. And it was hard. It was, like it was human, right? So it was still got tired of each other, that's gonna happen, especially with me. I can be real stubborn for sure. You know what I'm saying? So we just worked it out, and I think it got us closer because for us, I didn't when everybody has families and stuff. So whenever we kind of got in a rough situation and was with a disagreement, I wasn't leaving to go bowl league, or I wasn't about to leave for the weekend. You know what I'm saying? It was like, nope, I'm right here. So we actually had to really challenge ourselves with having more conversations that we would normally take the easy route and stuff. So like that. So, and then after a while, you're like, wow, we can actually have these conversations. So it built strength, really, honestly. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, so it was just, again, man, just really trying to make positive of the situation. And so I think we were fortunate for our perspective and blessed, and took a lot of good out of a situation that really tried to not put us in a good spot.
Well, it did look like now, again, as everything starts to open up a little bit in Michigan, bowling underway one more time. You guys got to escape just for a minute recently to decompress a little bit, to step away from work and the cold and the house and just get out and enjoy. And, maybe that's a trip that doesn't happen in a normal world or in a normal year, and just something that looked, awesome for the kids as well. If you want to talk a little bit about that and just a chance to enjoy some sunshine and not have to worry about bowling or work or any of those things just for a minute.
Yeah, man, that was incredible. I can't think of the last, honestly, all the bowlers, the cliche answer. I can't think of the last time I flew without bowling balls, but I can't, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I didn't, and I was so happy not to, you know what I mean? I was like, I remember we were checking in bags, and I'm just like, yeah, we got 2 bags, just kept having her print the things for 2 bags, even though, and we ended up having like 2 or 3 extra slips, but I didn't care. It was just like, hey, yeah, I'm not taking these bowling balls. It's like, I'm not carrying nothing on the plane. You know what I mean? So, so that part was already fun in that experience. And then this was the first time the kids got to fly. You know what I'm saying? My son, he's 2 years old. He's about to be 3 March 1st, and my daughter's about to be 6 March 27th. So this is the first time they got to fly, and they loved it. You know what I mean? And you're right, though. We wouldn't have been able to do this because it was almost not like free flights, but flights that we have vouchers for. Because I was, me and her were going for Reno for nationals, and she was coming with me, and so we had all those that we kind of just wanted to start using because we knew that the airlines had, postponed it and didn't get, with the credits and stuff. But we were like, we don't know how long this is going to be. So she had to use vacation days because she had worked so much, during the time. So we were like, we got to use it. So that's what we planned. And we were kind of planned in different places, but with California still kind of being a little shut down and stuff, we kind of didn't know where to go. And looks like we got really lucky where we picked, man, because, unfortunately, like I said, your guys' area got, hit with that. So it was a bunch of places we thought we could go that would be warm. It wasn't, So then we get there and it's this whole awesome, just stay in an Airbnb and it's like decked out in Disney, and it's like, but not where it was like overboard. They just did it really sweet. And the kids had their own room. Beds were decked out, like I said, in Disney. And then we did this little package. And at the last day, we decided to go to Legoland. And we thought it was about to, here we got a Legoland in the store. And that's all it is. You just pay like the extra bucks and you can like build Legos. So that's where we thought we were going, like a little store. And we get there and it's like this huge amusement park. And my son's tall for 2. He's like 43 inches. So he was able to ride all the little rides that my daughter was riding. So, and he loved it. So it was just like a perfect experience because while we're down there, everybody thinks about Disney, but I just wasn't for sure with the regulations and things going on. And plus my son's 2. So I just remember, I think it was a little premature for him. But that ended up being a perfect trip and they loved it. And just looking back at the pictures and stuff, just learning so much from their smiles and stuff because they're like genuinely happy, you know what I mean? So it's some cool stuff I was really fortunate that we got to have that time.
Well, now this is really awesome to hear. Again, I got to meet young, single 17-year-old Ronnie at the TOA with Junior Team USA. Aaron got to see you with Wichita State 3 years later or 5 years later in 2010 in El Paso. And then we were there on wedding day, right? And Reno, we'll talk a little bit about that. But the way that you just discussed that, I mean, this is a huge growth for you. Talk about just, again, being a husband and a father and just how different life is now compared to even just 3 or 4 years ago.
Man, it's way different. You without making this sound bad, because it's not bad at all, but you got to put yourself last, and it's hard, I've gone through struggles of doing that, you know what I'm saying? Especially being the only child, so it's just been, it's been rough, but every time, like the better I get at it, the more rewarding it is for everyone, you know what I'm saying? Like not just for me, but even more for the kids and Sarah, you know what I'm saying? And it's just, life is so much more easier, and so when it's easier, it's like you get to get further because you can be more focused, you can be healthier because you don't have stress, so you don't have tension in your body, you know what I'm saying? So it's just you just get to do things in a way less stressful way. And it was just sweet because, like you said, that transposition has been kind of hard, man. It's been kind of hard just because right after, say, USBCs, I went to go try the tour thing, for a little bit, just because that's when the tour for my career timeline seemed that it was the best time to go out. But for home, it was the worst. Like Sarah was back at school getting her master's. She was working midnights, and we had Braylon at the time, which she was born in 2015, so she was not even 1 year old. You know what I mean? So while I'm trying to go bowl World Series, I got a pro national contract with Brunswick, so I'm getting paid to be at tournaments that, so I have to fulfill that contract. So while I'm at nationals, I'm like, man, or not nationals, but while I'm on tour, I'm like, I wish I can be at home. And when I'm at home, I'm wishing I can be on tour. And so it was like, but man, how can I go home? Like, I want to chase my dream, and I don't want to be at home and be a bum, in a way, because this is what I'm doing to, help provide for my family. So it was just so many mental struggles. And then thinking, then your timeline of your career flashes in your brain, and you're like, well, I'm Ronnie Sparks Jr. How can I, possibly not chase this, and, like that. But then I had needed help with it, and I got some help. Luckily, I got some good friends to really sit me down, sit Sarah down, and we really talk it through. Like, hey, no, like, you know, first we start with love, and then we be the best we can be with where we need to be. And as much as we try to create our own timeline, that's not the timeline we use. We use more of a timeline that works for everybody, and more connecting, kind of like with the universe, and just being truthful with yourself. And so, like, not putting an age on it, so, and just coming back and being where I needed to be. And since I've been home and doing that, it's like I said, it was a rough beginning, you know what I mean, because there was so many uncertainties. But now looking back at it, it was the best decision I've made, you know what I mean? Just because of how much I've been able to be home, how much my home can count on me being here, and then them also knowing my dream. So we're setting me up. So when I do go to, say, chase that again, that I'll be so much more complete than what I was.
So now, as we rebound from this, and the world transitions back to something that we recognize, have you guys talked about what that will look like for your career path as a bowler, or as, I guess, as a parent? You're excelling at home right now, but have you talked about what's coming up next?
Yeah, yeah, man. We back then, even we set the goal that we believe that I can excel at both, so the but it just needed to be a plan, because like I said, it's not just me anymore. I'm not that 17-year-old to be like, oh, I'm about to book here, I'm going there, I'm going to do that, so now it just comes with more planning and stuff, and planning wasn't my best suit. I was able to always kind of do things on the fly. And Junior Team USA and Team USA, they definitely know of that. Like you said, you had to catch me and for the to do the blogs and stuff, so it wasn't preparation wasn't the deal that was my strong suit. So now I'm getting better at that, getting communicating with her. But now my little man's 2. By next year he'd be 3, you know what I mean? So our daughter, she's in school. Sarah's done with school, she's got the job. We're now in a position she wants, with not working midnights, not going to school, having just only working 4 days, having weekends off. So in the babysitting situation, way easier. And my Braylon, she's at the age where need be, she can go with me. So but yeah, so we're just setting that up. I mean, so we're in that process to get there. And so now this year I'm really getting my bowling game, because I got the home schedule kind of under control. You know what I'm saying? So now getting my game more in shape, getting more physically in shape, getting my mind more in shape. So it's chasing the best in the world. You can't cut any of those short. And I'm blessed to have a mindset to understand that.
Well, we did think we were going to get a look into the parent life and have to change the name of today's show to the Carline Chronicles. But I understand Braylon wasn't feeling well, so well, thank you and thank her for being able to be here today, and hope she feels better. And that again, that would have been a quite the look into real life for sure. But let's talk about your own youth a little bit now as we transition into your bowling career here. You come from a very an area with a lot of young bowling talent, right? In Michigan, loaded with just names and opportunities. Tell us about the background a little bit that got you set up into a position where you were able to make Junior Team USA in 2005, Team USA in 2006, and then bowl collegiately for 2 top teams. So all of that foundation had to be set and built somewhere. We see some comments in the chat about the amazing junior program in the Michigan general area. So tell us about that and how you became the Ronnie Sparks that I got to meet on Junior Team USA.
Well, first, the bowling drive, really, the drive of it came from me wanting to beat my dad. We started at the same time. Like, so I did other sports. I was doing basketball. I played football. I was in karate for like 7, 8 years. You know what I'm saying? So I was doing so many other things, and his job just started doing it. And when we went to do it, like I got to see him really have to try to beat me, and we were going back and forth, you know. So that just naturally made 290 bowlers want to keep going to the bowling alley. You know what I mean? Who's going to break 100 first? I can still remember that, you know. Um, so that's where that started, and the drive part, right? So then you fast forward to bowling leagues. Very short time, so I always wanted to be in the bowling alley. My mom had bowled before, so she was very familiar with it. You know what I mean? So, um, and then she would take me. So they were kind of I was lucky, like I said, I was the only child. So anything I wanted to get into, the parents were with it. And so my mom would take me to bowl every week. And I met a buddy of mine that's passed away, Dave Silverman, who was really a large influence on my bowling career. You know what I mean? With introducing me to all this stuff like Junior Team USA and things like that. And I was shooting spares one week, and he was like, you show up next week, I'll give you a plastic ball. So I showed up next week, he gave me a plastic ball. I was like 11, 12 at this time. And every week after that, I would show up, we would work on Wednesdays, and we start getting my game places. Next thing you know, I got introduced to this like Scratch Wednesday League in the summer. I shot my first 300. I was 13, and that's when I got the info about the MGMAs, which they're talking about, the Michigan Junior Masters Association. It was ran at that time by Dan Ottman, who was regional, and he was the best. I mean, he ran the Junior Masters like he ran his regionals. And if anybody that ran his Boulders regionals know, he was by the book. You know what I mean? So he's taught amazing structure. And to be a competitor, to not feel bad about being a competitor, because if you're following the rules, you're good. Like, not meaning like try to find a way under the rules, but meaning like if you follow the rules, you got nothing to worry about. You know what I mean? And that way, don't get out of control. I don't care who you are, you still follow the rules. And that was his main teaching, you know, like, I don't care how many balls you think you got, blah, blah, blah. If I get this
There we go.
lamish,
We're good. We're good
okay,
now.
sorry, I got a call there. If I get this, if he got the lane machine or anything like that, he would let us know, like, I got the machine. You can bring in how many balls you want, whatever. So he taught a very humbling but very experienced deal, man. And his summer league was an incredible summer league that he was preparing us for junior gold. He would put out a short pattern, a medium pattern, a long pattern, and U.S. Open every year. It was the same thing, and it was literally preparation for Junior Team USA. You know what I'm saying? So, with that beautiful competitive nature there, I just wanted to, and it was so many great bowlers, like I said, junior bowlers, that I was just constantly wanting to win and do great. And my buddy Dave, he was the one that showed me, like, because I was at first just wanting to do good to win the big, because, you know, Detroit got the big adult leagues that had the big jackpots too, that paid, you can make $10,000 off of one good game, you know. So, you know, that was right there in reach. So, you know, it's like, man, I kind of want that, you know. That's where, you know, that's where Dave threw the magazines in front of me, the Express magazines and those bowlers, you know, the youth magazines back then, and showed me the Sean Rash and the Needham, you know, man's on there, of like, hey, no, this is what you want to go after. You know what I'm saying? So after that, he linked me up with a coach, and I linked me up with Kurt Pilon. And Pilon, I was able to be blessed to be under him for such a young age and learn so much stuff from him. And mixed with Sean Klug, and plus my competitive nature, just constantly working, wanting to show them like 15 things after the one thing they showed me to work on. And just ran into the go and try out for Junior Team USA, you know.
And at the same time, Time to start thinking about college as well. Of course, when you think about Michigan and Dan Ottman and all the things you mentioned, the first thing that comes to mind, of course, is Saginaw Valley State, just right there, close to home. But college bowling is huge, especially in the early 2000s, of course, and just players everywhere. And at that point, where for me it was more stay close to home. There's programs everywhere that are so good, and so I'm sure there's a moment of consideration there for you to decide where is this path going to lead you? Where's the best place for Ronnie Sparks Jr.? Initially, that was Pikeville, right? And a little bit of a trip for you. So talk about that decision and how it came to be that. And that was a pretty stacked group at that time as well. So a very talented program. But I imagine a lot of thought and talking to the family to come to that decision.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, no, that was a crazy time because it was a lot that went into that decision. Absolutely. That at that time I just made Team US. I think I just made Team USA because that was 06 and I went to school 05. So no, I was on junior Team USA at the time. So I kind of knew that I would have the coaching really from junior Team USA and that program to where if I went to Pikeville, because the Pikeville at the time it was Kyle Wilson. He was there. He was good with team chemistry, but as far as like elevating really the topper tier level of a physical game, it's only a handful of guys do that in the United States. You know what I'm saying? So I felt like I was okay with, and I had so many friends that I bowled, like, because besides the MJMAs, there was the JTBAs. And those were the Ohio thing. And Ron Damron, his daughter, Ladina, at the time, she bowled those as well. So, we all kind of had a really close connection with the Pikeville group. Kyle, like I said, Kyle, he ran JTBAs, and then he ended up being the Pikeville coach, So it is like I figured, and with the classes being small, I just felt like it was just better one-on-one with the teachers. I just felt like I was going to school with my friends that I just got done bowling, like the junior stuff with. And on the bowling side, I felt like I was still going to get the coaching from the Team USA program. So I just felt like I was just kind of catching both. And then just really just didn't click the best when afterwards, just because of especially my best, like my close friends there, they just felt the same thing, like, because I was like coach besides Kyle, and bowling. And I just didn't want to be selfish, but I just felt like at the same time, I didn't want to be full of myself and be like, I'm not done learning yet either. You know what I mean? Like, and so I just felt like if I transferred, that it would be a better decision for me to really elevate my game at a faster pace, at the pace that I felt like I could handle. You know what I mean? Because I just didn't feel like it was going to move as fast while I was at Pikeville.
Well, we'll talk about that move here in just a couple of minutes, of course, as we chronologically move through your career. But around this time was an amazing experience. We mentioned Tournament of the Americas in Florida. That's kind of an opportunity to just get a feel for international competition. But in 2006, you got a phone call that I imagine you'll never forget. And the opportunity to represent Team USA, the adult team, at the World Championships in South Korea. I'm just talking about it, just saying that out loud. It sounds awesome. And I didn't even get the phone call, right? I wasn't any part of this. I wasn't there to, but tell us about that opportunity. And then, of course, what came of that was awesome. And we'll talk about that in detail here. But just go back to that phone call and knowing that you were headed overseas and potentially your first trip overseas.
Man. Ooh, that's wow, man, that's a minute. All right. Well, I definitely remember the moment of, I don't like necessarily remember the phone call, but I can remember the moment. I remember a couple key moments of that though. Like I remember leaving camp and feeling like I aced camp. Like I just felt like I bowled. I felt like I did a lot of good things. I felt like my game was in a good place. I felt like I wasn't trying to fit in with the guys, even because it was such an age difference. Like the next youngest person on the team was Rhino on a guy's side. You know what I'm saying? Um, so I just felt like I did my part to show like my assets of the team because I had just got over making that team. I had just missed Junior Team USA that summer. You know what I mean? So going to trial for that, it was a big mental thing that I was going with Dr. Dean. And so I was in such a like different spot that when I went to camp, we had kind of got a line, me and him had kind of got a line getting there of being me, not trying to be someone else or anything like that, you know, because it's intimidating in a way, you know what I'm saying? Being, especially at that age, I was, like I said, so much younger than some of the guys that were so accomplished. And, but I just remember feeling like I did. And then I do remember just like they said we were going to hear around this time and we didn't. And we were waiting and waiting. And then when we finally did, I was just so excited to tell my mom and tell my my dad and Dave, because those were the three at the time that were just so pumped, you know, because at that time we had already lost Dan, you know, so couldn't tell him. So, and, you know, Pilon, he was another guy, you know, but just that I was just so excited and pumped. And immediately my buddy Dave bought me this like huge luggage set, you know what I mean? And we just went to, you know, just started going and get all this small, like this stuff, you know what I mean? Just making sure we're ready. And then, of course, it takes me forever to, because I lose my passport. And of course, it takes me forever to go ahead and get a new one. So I have to pay for the fast shipment there and back, you know, and all that stuff. So yeah, so all that time and stuff that, like I said, I don't remember the call, but I can remember right before getting, like I said, the camp and stuff and preparing for the camp, because I knew it was going to be a selection. And I just knew like it was a lot of great guys there. So it's like Hoffman, Rhino, Haynes, you know, you say, oh, that's automatic 3. That's there. You know what I mean? So there's not many, yeah, it's 6 spots, but it's not really, you know, so there's like 3 spots there, you know.
This was at a time, again, before the professionals started being allowed to be on Team USA. So at the time, the best of the best who weren't on the PBA tour, phenomenal history and tradition there with those players. You mentioned Bill Hoffman and Rhino Page, David Haynes, and it ended up being Scott Pohl and Dan Patterson were the rest of the crew for that World Championships. And going to South Korea, Team USA hadn't won the team gold medal since 1971. I'm old. Even I wasn't around back then. That's how long ago that was. Yeah. So you guys already, no one going in Team USA, this is the focus. Always is the team event. Yeah. You know, the chemistry coming together, there's nothing like it. But the pressure of 3 decades on your shoulders and just being a young guy on this talented team and, you know, knowing that you'd earned your spot there, but knowing that still something to prove as well. And you guys went in and you got the job done. You know, you won the gold medal first time in 35 years for Team USA. And then just talk about that, the feelings, the emotions, and just knowing that it happened. And, you know, not an underdog. Of course, Team USA always the feared team out there, but the one everybody wants to beat. And you guys proved everybody a certain way and got it done. And there you are. You're winning. You're getting the medals. You're standing up there. You're hearing the national anthem. Tell us about that.
It was a hearing the national anthem when you win something like that is so cool, because it's like when you hear them at the bowling tournaments and stuff, you know, you're doing it to respect the respect you have for the country. But when you're doing it for that, when you're hearing that, it's like the country is showing you respect, you know? So it's like a job well done, you know? And so, and knowing who that job well done is coming from, you know, is in not just the United States, but for our bowling community, every attempt at that every training camp, every meeting, every bonding session, every flight home that wasn't successful, like all that's wrapped in that, and to be there. And, so it was just, like I said, being so connected with the team. So to feel that as a newcomer and then be so locked in with your team that you could feel the energy behind David, you can feel the energy behind Bill, you can feel the energy behind Coach Jerry, you can feel the energy behind Vatican, you can Coach Cam, you can feel it all behind these guys, because they were there for these attempts, so, and you can feel it too from Dan and Scott, it's just as, everyone, but like I said, just because I bring up Bill and Dave a lot because they were like, obviously like the captains of the team, and so to show up for them, know that they wanted it. It was, like I said, a lot built up to it already, but I don't even like without all that stuff building up, to get to that moment at that tournament, but just the history behind it. And like I said, I just remember hearing that song, and it was just like one of those times that felt like I actually deserved to be standing and hearing it while I was playing,
All right, well, coming home, imagine you guys, heroes in a way for what you've done for the Team USA program at that point, a turning point for the program, and then transitioning into the pros. And that was the first of 3 consecutive world championships. So I imagine the confidence that you had coming home after that had to be astronomical, and just the feeling. And then, of course, that is the point where, your collegiate career took a transition as well, right? And then started thinking and getting ready to move on to bowling powerhouse Wichita State. Tell us about the time that followed after coming home with that gold medal, and then moving forward with your career and more team success.
And that was again the feeling like that's a great feeling, right? Like I said, I was blessed with some cool stuff, so already that great feeling. But of course, like I get the awesome welcoming home. I get my parents and Dave, and they're there with the posters, and they're shaking them and they're yelling. I was always like a very, like, I laugh and have fun and stuff, but like when it comes to like the awards and stuff, I'm not the ones to put them on the wall and nothing like that, where my mom's like, you better hand me that now, so we're putting it right here, you know what I'm saying? So like when I won, like I'm like, hey, can we get out of the airport so we can get home, and then I'm ready to celebrate. But no, they're right there like, no, he did that, so it's just so that already. But at the same time, but it's such an awesome, you wouldn't want it any other way. But with that, man, yeah, it was coming after that. It was, like I said, I was ready. I was ready for everything, so that's where I said, it was like, man, like I can do this, I can be successful with this. I can have fun with this, and I can do it at a high level. And it's fun doing it at a high level, so that's where I, definitely was like, all right, it's time to do the red shirt, so I could make the transfer, you know what I mean? Because at that time when I'd already decided to sit out, I was able to talk, and during that break, I was able to talk to Coach V a little bit, and we talked and stuff. So we just, made some plans to, make it work, and get there, and talked about the things that we'd have to do to make it happen. And so, yeah, and, and after that, we made the move there and did some residency to, make school cheaper, and, all that good stuff. And yeah, so it was cool.
Now, Ronnie, that Wichita State captured the ITC in 2010. We mentioned that took place in El Paso. I got to be there that week. I got to watch it kind of all unfold. You beat up on my guys from Calumet College in the finals, but that's okay. We'll talk about that another time. But looking at that team, that was, and I would still argue with plenty of people about this, that might have been the best collegiate bowling team ever that I've seen. I'm saying that right now. So if I'm going to get some flack for this, folks, please feel free. But Jake Peters, John Serbinski, Josh Blanchard, Ronnie Sparks Jr., Josh McBride, you got Jeffrey Young is part of that group, Brent Bowers, all those guys, I've done so many great things in the sport. And, it culminated in a title that year and, just an incredible performance on TV from you guys in capturing the win. But, what was it like being in that moment with that type of team? Obviously you had the team success with Team USA winning a gold medal. But this had to be, kind of on a similar plane with just so many talented players coming together to make something big happen.
Yeah, no, man, that's one thing I'll always really be so thankful for Coach V about, because without him, that moment wouldn't be possible, because he was so amazing with putting us together, putting a group like that together to become brothers rather than just competitors within a team. So because it's easy to do that when you get around when you get some talented guys that think they're the best. It becomes competitors within each other. So him and Coach L, especially Coach L, Coach L is really good at humbling you really fast. So and Coach V were too, but they just have their ways of doing it. So, but it was so being in that moment, man, was I wasn't there with Josh, Blanchard or John Zerbinski. It was brothers, it was like when they were just Kevin Pager. I was there with our, this was a group that we did workouts together, that paid for the other's mistakes together. You know what I'm saying? That and that came through a lot of challenges together, and the biggest challenge of trusting each other, instead of saying I can do it all by myself because I'm such and such. And that was the biggest challenge. And we did it fast that year. So we got to enjoy a lot of the season of being on the same page. And so there to see the plan come and play was just, and to come to play with each other. It was pretty sweet.
I will say that Coach L finds a way to humble us from the live stream booth too. So I can only imagine it's tenfold on the lanes itself. But yeah, that's some excellent stuff right there. And once again, folks, if anyone wants to pick out a better team, I'm up for this argument. So I'm here all day.
Now, Ronnie, you left college at that point, having grown so much in just 5 short years. You already had lived through, as you mentioned, Dan Ottman and Kurt Pelon and those guys in Michigan, a huge tradition for the Open Championships with that crew. Dan Ottman, legacy at the OC in the late 1990s. And so you probably understood the magnitude of the Open Championships in that event. You had the team atmosphere that you got to enjoy as part of Team USA. And then at Wichita, as you said, you can put 5 talented guys together on a team. That doesn't mean that there's going to be success, right? It's about the chemistry and it's not just talent. So you left college knowing all of the things and having all the tools that it would take to find success in the team environment. You proved it with those 2 huge titles. And then it was time for the Open Championships around the same time. So being at this inside the OC, it's time for that part of the conversation and the start of your career at the Open Championships. And tell us, again, coming out of college and knowing just how important team chemistry is and cooperation and collaboration. Tell us about that first Open Championships, how you got there, how it all went down, what you thought about the event heading into it, how prepared you were, just about the environment, and then your first impressions as you walked into what should have been Cashman Center in Las Vegas, one of the biggest and best builds in tournament history.
That was a kind of an easy transition, man, because I was fortunate enough to bowl with my junior Team USA friends. So now again, you're talking another group of brothers, So as far as connecting, all we're just looking forward to is finally connecting and getting to have some fun, because I think I got to do USBCs a year or 2 maybe before I got right to Wichita, but I got to have some fun with it. But you just know from junior Team USA, and that was, like I said, the transition was easy because once you get there, you with the other group of guys that understand how important it is to play the lanes together, and have fun, you know. So being with that type of, because you can, like I said, like we just, you know, not being on rewind, but if you can grab a bunch of group of guys and be like, oh, this is gonna be a great group for nationals, you know. But if you don't mesh and don't connect, this, you know, just kind of won't go well.
Well, now tell us again about the first year, just walking in, the expectations, and getting out there, having the experience. Something about it made you want to come back every year since, which is awesome. We appreciate that for sure. But just what was it that made the event so memorable, and anything over the next couple of years that made you just want to make sure to be there every time?
Dude, that opening ceremonies is something that everyone has to experience. Right, you're like, that is hands down probably the best thing, you know, besides obviously the Eagle ceremony or, you know, something like that. But as far as for every bowler to be able to experience something like that, that is hands down the coolest thing for a bowler to be able to go through, because they have that moment on them on that type of stage. USBC always has it in a beautiful size facility, you know what I'm saying? So you can really feel the atmosphere of champions, you know? And so it's just, you feel like you're walking, when you're doing that walk, it's like a royalty floor. Yeah, you know, like walking on royalty in a way. And then you got all the cool just memorabilia and different things that you can just, you know, you're really like a bowler that's a kid in a candy store, because you got the bowling balls you can buy, you know, you got the shop guys that are in there, you know what I mean, and some of them, you know, here and there depending on what's going on, you got the pros that are in there, you get a couple that are in it. So it's just, even for me feeling like I was established as a bowler, it was still really awesome for me, you know what I mean? So I hate watering things down like that, saying even for me, but I say that meaning someone that has so much experience through the bowling alley where it's hard for them to see something new and catch awe. And you catch that every year at the USBCs, you know. So.
But you definitely gave the goosebump description of the OC, and that's why we do what we do every year since 1901, of course, to put on a show unlike any other. You know, when you talk about entry fees and travel and where does it all go, and like that's where it goes, right? To put on this amazing show for the bowlers every single day, and as if the experience wasn't special enough, just a few years into your OC career, you found a way to make it even more exciting and memorable. Perhaps the March to the Lanes wasn't the top thing of that year's event, but 2013, you guys had another type of march in Reno, with surrounded by friends and teammates. Tell us about that, because again, we've seen the different stages of your career as a bowler, but here's a new stage of life taking place as a person. Just tell us about the 2013 Open Championships and how you've managed to elevate an already amazing experience into something even greater.
Yeah, that's the year me and Sarah got married, man. And that's the year we kind of decided to, it was like a spur of the moment thing. It was just something that it all just worked out. Like, it just seemed like the perfect trip, because she was going to nationals, the women's nationals, and I'm going to men's nationals, and we found out it's the same weekend, and it's like, you know, wow, okay, cool, we're about to be in Reno together. And then so we planned that, and then it was just there, and it was just, you know, everything was awesome, and we were kind of so for sure with things already. So it just was a moment. It was like, hey, how about we, you know, do this? And it started off as a joke, and then I started thinking about it, and I was like, I'm gonna call her mom and just, you know, check with her and talk to her, and I talked to my mom, and when I talked to them, that's when I'm like, yeah, I could do this, you know. So, and I told Sarah, like, hey, we think we should do it. And so she was with it. And so after that, her friends that she bowled nationals with was again her group of college friends. So it was like her sisters. So they were all with it. Like, yeah, what do we got to do? Like, I'm ready, whatever we got to do. And then I'm with my junior team buddies. So they like the same thing, like, hey, what's up? So we're at Burlington Coat Factory buying all this stuff that's like matching colors, like with some odd color shirts. So we get like these sky blue shirts that are just whatever color, and the girls find Sarah this white dress, and she goes to a pawn shop and finds me a wedding band. And I buy a ring, a temporarily ring from like right before you go down the elevators and the casinos in Reno. It was like that shiny jewelry area. So I just buy something from that for her to have. And yeah, and then we go to think about doing it. And we go to the place and we find out we got to have the marriage license. Never went and got it because didn't know how that stuff worked. So we had to go there, and luckily, because it's Reno, the place was open on it like Sunday or Saturday. It was some weird time that no place will ever be open, and they're like, "Oh yeah, the building's closed. You just hit the buzzer and come in and bring your ID." And it was just like, "Oh okay, yeah, you guys are ready for spontaneous stuff." So yeah, so it just made that really awesome year because it was a beautiful time because you know how flights can be just crazy to fly to Reno. So we flew to San Francisco, drove from San Francisco to Reno without any of its plans of doing that, right? Of the getting married there. So the way back was so awesome. So because we just took our time, we stopped off in places so it kind of like we turned it into our first little married trip. You know what I mean? Like we stopped off in Napa Valley. Just kind of just drove around, really. Kind of. So yeah, it was sweet. So it ended up being an awesome trip.
So now 2013, the first time in history, both events held in the same host city in the same year, right? Two great venues, the National Bowling Stadium for the Open Championships, and then we transformed the Convention Center across town for the Women's Championships. So the timing for this love story could not have worked out any better. But you mentioned Sarah and all of her hard work now, but she was doing some hard work on the lanes back in the day as well. She was a superstar at Fairleigh Dickinson, right? A national champion also in 2010. So I think that's where it all began. It was fate from that point.
Yeah, right.
They won the NCAA title. You guys won at the ITCs. And, I imagine now how good those kids are going to be when they start bowling as well. But, pretty awesome that it all worked out. And now the OC always will be that special stage for you. And you bowled very well that year, right? So all of a sudden, you go from being me to we, and it almost seems like, just a different guy walked into the National Bowling Stadium and you put up, at the time, a career year. The arm swing maybe a little bit looser. You guys relaxed. To talk about that, the performance. And again, I feel this is a turning point in your bowling career as well, because all of a sudden it's no longer just about you, but you transformed a little bit. You went out and you bowled terrific. Just tell us about that part and how that all worked in the next phase of your career.
Yeah, man, that was a time of a first glimpse of being complete will make the lane so much more easier, just because I had been doing this on my own for such a long time, being a kid able to chase the junior team USA stuff. So it was just the parents, right? And me. So with this, it was definitely different because it was like, man, it was like happy off the lanes. It was just like you said, it was just like on a natural high, so I just was able to bowl good. Everything in life is going good, obviously, at that point. So it just feel like you feel confident that you're making a bunch of the right decisions, so any little small move that you got to make on the lanes is easy, like, oh, should I move? Am I sure this is going to carry? Yeah, man, you've made 10 good decisions outside of bowling. So this is you're about to make, this is just another decision. And there's another time you're about to make another good one because you have been, so it just, when that mindset comes, that's why I think it's just so important to make sure that everything else is lined up for any level you want to try to do bowling, if you want to, have some fun and being able to do it, just because that was like the first glimpse of it for me. And Coach, like I said, back to Coach V, kind of always taught that with our system of practice and working out. It was just like, man, if you do these things, luck is not luck. It's you putting yourself in the right spot, when you need to. So it's just kind of same situation. It just felt like like I said, just a natural high from good things going,
So now we fast forward 2 years. Married life's going well. Parenthood is right there. And now you're walking back into the El Paso Convention Center. I imagine feelings, emotions come rushing back from the big win in 2010. There you are looking at the special lanes one more time. It really only made sense. I'm glad that, we were ready for you when this happened. And we should have known when you walked in the door something special was going to happen again. But talk about being back in El Paso. And maybe the confidence that you had just walking in the door, even though it's different lanes, of course, we're 5 years apart, but to be able to walk back in, memories flooding back, and then we'll talk about the performance that you put on. Again, what a year, and it's just it all seems to fall in place for you. So tell us about El Paso in 2015, where you were in life, and how you felt walking back in the doors.
This I think was maybe the first or the second year I changed teams. And I started bowling with my guys from back at home, bowling with some guys that I bowled MGMAs with, and we went with we weren't companion team, but we just went with the same time as the S&B Pro Shop guys. So the Nick Wissinger, the Dave Ewald, the Kurt Beeline, and those guys are like uncles to us, like they for our group, especially now that at the nationals, they were literally our group before us. You know what I mean? Like we're like doing the same stuff at that, for the youth stuff, and after that, like following their steps. You know what I mean? And so to be able to go to for them to be cool with, especially the success that they've had, for them to be cool with us even coming around the time they were coming was so sweet. You know what I mean? Because now it's not just our 10 guys. It's their 10 guys too. So at the pool area, it's us, all of us. And it's just like we usually don't get this time to have with all of them, especially in one group, and a relaxed time because we're not at nationals. But our hotel was like a block or two away. So we got to walk, and so that comfortability was there already for that. But then, like you said, it just kind of felt like the right year, just because. And going inside, just like you said, I felt the place. Like it was like a cool. I just remember the walkway. Like, oh yeah, this is where we had to wait. Just looking at how it changed. And not coming with coming with a little obligation, not obligation, but like, hey, yeah, it'd be cool to bowl good here. Yeah, obviously, but you want to go bowl good everywhere you go for national. So, but yeah, it was such a cool, exciting feeling just because I just remember feeling like everybody was there, and then I went to the Brunswick booth and because that was the year my daughter was born, so I went to the Brunswick booth and got that little pink Visiball with, it's a girl. So got all her stuff written out, so it's kind of cool that the year I got her a little ball made. That was the year I didn't know I would end up taking over singles,
So now we knew at that point, this was already early May, based on 2014 scores were super high, record numbers. By this point, we knew that 2015 was going to be a challenge for everybody. Scores were tough to come by, of course. So you guys went out there, you bowled well in team and doubles. But I believe our conversation went that as you got ready for singles, you just kind of felt like you had the right look, and things started to fall into place. And, did you know going into doubles and singles, did you look at the scores? Did you know what it was going to take? Did you realize that for the first time in a decade, there hadn't been an 800 at the Open Championships just yet at this point in the event?
No, I'm not a big stat guy like that. Like I couldn't tell you anything like when it comes to like stat records or anything. I just never been really into it. So I just always feel like it just sets limits. So I don't want any expectation, right? So so I had no idea what was going on. Honestly, at the time, I didn't even know what the lead was. And we bowled doubles, and I'm bowling, and I had good ball reaction. And I'm like, missed a couple hits. And I'm like in the lane, I kind of seen where they were going. And literally probably the last game where we didn't have anything to do, we couldn't do nothing for doubles. I asked my doubles partner, I'm like, what is the lead for singles right now? You know? And he told me, I can't remember what it was at the time. I think it was like 780 at the time. And I was like, oh. So I remember walking to the bathroom and grabbing my phone, and I take my phone and I text my buddy, and I'm like, I think I'm about to take over the singles league, because I just felt my bar reaction was like that. You know what I mean? And so, and next thing you know, things started playing out, and started off with a pretty good game, and just kind of started still catching rhythm, and my bar reaction was getting stronger, you know. And then I 7-10 the second game in the 10th, but it really kind of didn't shake me, because I really felt like it was just a bad break, and I just felt like I still had a good chance. And then the third game started going, and then I kind of knew what I needed in the 10th, and I text Sarah and I tell her, like, hey, all I need to do is this. And she's like, why are you texting me right now? You know? So, yeah. And then I get up and close out the 10th. And after that, it was just like a moment of relief and cool feeling, you know? So.
But it's all usually pretty much a blur for us, especially at that point in the Open Championships. Aaron Smith actually remembered, he said, that walk off the lanes and the text and the bathroom visit, and not that he was supervising that by any means, but but just how it all fell into place, and the text and the calls, and you know, the number was 785 and you started with 278. So at what point in the process did, you know, obviously you had said that this was going to happen, but at what point did it really become real that you had that look and that this was very much possible?
The 270, because I pay a lot of attention to bar reaction, like big time, to the point where, because I'm a person that don't really believe in excuses. So, and I just believe if you're tapping or something like that, and if you're throwing it good, well, you're throwing it good the right way. Like you're in the wrong way. You know what I mean? Like you're not doing something right. The bowling gods aren't against you that day. Like it's not nothing. There's a way. We gotta stop being full of ourselves in a way and find out what the answer is to carry. Because if someone next to us is carrying, and then it's there, you know. So, and so that causes me to, per se, dial in my bar reaction. And so when I feel like when I go to look for a couple things, and if I see it, now I'm like, well, the only person that's in the way is me. And I work so hard on my career of being out of my own way. I work on that on the lanes and off the lanes. So now I'm in my strong suit, you know. So it's kind of feeling like when that first game confirmed, so it's like, okay, I'm gonna take this information with this information and see what comes out of it. And when it comes out with information that I thought would come out of it, now it's like letting me know I know exactly what's going on. So like I said, at that point, it was like, after that 270, it was like, all right, this is my thing to grab, you know. And so that's why even when I 7-10 the second game for 244, I think I shot, or something like that. When I shot that game, that's when I still wasn't bothered by it. So I started the next game with a big string, you know. It really just kind of picked right back up, you know.
All right, well, you followed the 270 up with 246, and then things still going well, still in position. You get to the final frame of the last game. You have a shot at 800, which would have been the first and only of the year. Still, again, we're only in May, so still 2 months of competition left to bowl. But as you get ready to step up, are you looking at numbers? Are you thinking, you kind of had an idea what the lead was? Do you know that 800 is still out there? Do you know, or of course, the goal probably is to step up and knock all the pins down every time, and then, you know, that's you doing all you can do. But talk about that final frame, because again, you double there and you have 800 plus the lead, but you got up, you got the first hit, and then you left the 7 pin. So talk about that moment. What happened? Did you think that it was done? You missed both, or what's going through your mind?
No, dude, I wanted to shoot 800 bad, because I was not mad. Like I said, I was mad because I had the front 8. So I wanted to shoot 300. I wanted to, after that 7-10, my competitiveness, I was ready to stuff every single shot that next game. You know what I mean? Like my mindset was like, oh, I got something for you, 710. Literally, that's where I was. That's my like not to, but it was it was so dialed in because I had that much trust. So I wanted to shoot 300. So when I didn't get that hit, it was like, okay, so now the 10th frame comes, and I got the first one. I was like, now just dialing into the process, just everything, at that point, it was 1 in 800. I didn't care, like, but hey, make sure you don't get crazy. It wasn't like that. I wanted 800, you know what I mean? Because I wasn't about to bring my goal down to taking the lead. Because all I needed was to get 20 pins for that. You know what I mean? So I had a 3-bagger there after just, strike spare all the way to the 10th, 710, front 8. So I don't want 20 in a 10th. You know what I mean? I want 30. So it was so the 7-pin I left was even the 7-pin, that 7-pin hit cost me the most money, still to this day. Like it's just the weird pocket hit 7-pin where it just doesn't kick out. It's just one of them weird ones. But yeah, so that it's a funny one now. And so it was I wasn't upset that I didn't shoot 800. You know what I mean? I was just at that point I was happy that because we can't control the pins. So I was just happy that I executed the shot to give myself a chance for 800. And that's all I could ask for. So the fact that I took the lead and stuff was awesome, that my execution resulted in taking the lead. But, that's kind of where it was at.
Now, as Matt mentioned, this was in early May, and most years the tournament goes into July, so you had some time to wait and see whether or not that score was going to hold up. As Matt mentioned, they were definitely tough in El Paso. You had to earn it out there. But kind of what were the last few months after that? Just kind of waiting it out for. We know some folks are refreshing the scores every single day. They have people texting them left and right. Some people kind of take it a little easy. Where were you kind of on that? That
was me. That was me, man. And I'm not like I said, I'm not a stat guy. I'm not a score watcher when I'm at tournaments. Like I'm the guy that puts all the money in brackets and just I'm not looking until the end. I just what's done is done. But that is a nerve-wracking deal, man. Like that you can't explain until someone's in that situation, because everybody will find their own ritual or something into watching a score. And I did. Like it was so I would pull it up on the screen. It turned into I was in a summer league on Wednesdays where me and Sarah would just have a drink and watch, like, if someone was bowling or something. I'm like, well, if I'm gonna watch it, I might as well watch it comfortably. You know what I mean? So I was just, rather than nerve-wracking, so make a drink or something and make it a fun situation of watching. And so our Wednesday became a ritual with my USBC team, my group, because we all bowled not on the same team but in the same league. So every Wednesday, if I still had the lead, we got around. You know what I mean? It was just kind of our move. Well, the most nerve-wracking week was Norm Duke's week. Because, you just look and kind of check for some bowlers. And Norm Duke it was his week. And he was one of the final guys, like one of the last few guys that I had to worry about. It was with him, and I forgot what group he went with. I think it may have been a turbo group at the time. I don't know, but it was him, Aaron Lorenz. They had a big group. So I knew it was some strong guys. So, and of course, we're watching, and now it's time for me to get ready to leave the house to get ready to get to league. And so I got to watch Norm. He's getting ready to go into his last game. So we got it on the phone. So Sarah has it on the phone. I'm driving, Duke has the front 4, and he needed like 280 or something the last game, And he has like the front 3, and then he has like the front 4, and he has the front 5, and then there's the front 7. And then it's just like nerve-wracking, right? Well, of course, what would you guys think happened, right? The screen, everything froze. So every pair I look up, everybody's done. They will not. I go to look up Norm Duke's lane, nothing. No, nothing. Like, I'm like, so every pair, I'm looking at every pair just to prove a point. And it was like, their scores are coming up. And so I'm like, I gotta do it. I'm like, because Duke's one of those guys that get to the 8th, 9th frame with the fronts. You just like, that's over. Especially with knowing, the situation where he has to do like he knows what's at hand. He's not that league, So I had to do it. I text Lorenz and I just go, "Am I safe?" He's like, "You're good." So and yeah, you're good. He did do it. So I was just like, oh man. But after that was like the biggest. That was the biggest crazy one there because it had to be that guy, and then out of all the weeks, that time the screen had to not let me see their pair. It was just crazy.
Well, I mean, looking back, this is a Hollywood script, right? There's no way you don't win this title. Again, you're back in El Paso. This place is so special to you. You took the lead on your dad's birthday, if I remember correctly. There's no way this isn't happening, but we had to give you a little bit of a scare there because that's part of the fun for the process, right?
Yeah.
But walking out of there with 793, again, it's been a decade since there was an event without an 800. The modern era of bowling balls. Just even though everything in the universe was on your side at that point, you can't not win with all of the things off the lanes that surround it. But did you think leaving that building that 793 was going to be enough to win an Eagle at the Open Championships?
I didn't. But at the time, I didn't care. You know what I mean? It was like one of them things that I really try my best to constantly, man, to always like not give negative thoughts that much attention, so I'm always the guy that's always kind of being the optimistic guy. I'll be real and be like, so, and then you'll have the realism come in like, yeah, it happened. So I just try to stay satisfied with what I did and how I did it. Like, it wasn't like I had 840 and fell back into 800, you know what I mean? It wasn't like I opened the last 3 frames. So I didn't have anything to leave with my head down about. And I had to constantly play myself through that checklist because I didn't, because I would hit myself with, even though I don't think it'll hold, it was still great bowling. You know what I mean? Even though I didn't think it'll hold. And then every time we take a drink, I don't think it'll hold. And it's one more week, but so anybody that says it's holding at that time, you're like, shut up, I don't want to hear it. I don't want, so it's just, you want to really go under a rock until announce that the week's over with.
Well, it ended up holding up, and we had the pleasure of giving you the call that let you know that you officially were the singles champ at the 2015 event. How did that sound? How did that feel? What was life like knowing that you were an Eagle winner? When did it sink in? And of course, I'm sure the preparation already was underway for the title defense, if not very shortly down the road.
I was just so proud, man, because I lost my mom the year before. So it was just, and my daughter was born, so it was just, and then on my dad's birthday, so just a cool gift for him. It was cool. And plus, then, like I said, all the people that have put the time in to help me with my game and that they look forward to USBCs and can only dream of having success like that, and that I could really, really, really share it with them, to where it was theirs. You know what I mean? And that is, you don't think about that type of power and energy that's behind something like that until it happens. So preparing for something like that, wanting to win something, you just think about, oh man, it'll feel good to do this, to be people saying, it feels good, but you have no clue of how much more that comes behind it. So that type of stuff is just really sweet. It's a cool deal. We're in my room, so I can actually see my Eagle from here. So it's just kind of a cool thing to really be able to look at, and slows me down every single time to see it. Just because, like I said, so much more comes back with it besides just the 790, besides just a good day, winning a tournament. It's just, we've been blessed to have events like that, to have so much behind it. So it's cool.
Now, it seems like in recent years, the migration pattern for the Eagle, the American bald eagle, has kind of been toward Michigan with the amount of success with Kurt Pelon and his team, and Ryan Mao winning back-to-back. So You kind of started off this recent trend of Michigan success, again, going back to the 1990s even. So, to be a part of that history has to be pretty phenomenal. And then there's so much that goes into being the champion, being a defending champion. And then, of course, you're going back to Reno, the site of the wedding just a few years prior, back to another special place, title defense. Talk about 2016, walking in, going up the escalator, seeing the banner and the presentation, and just all that went with it. And then you bowled pretty well in singles on Bowl TV. Of course, didn't win back-to-back titles, but tell us about that experience. That part of it had to be pretty amazing too.
It's funny you say that, bro, because I actually had to I prepared myself for that because of the fact of when I made Junior Team USA for the first time. That was my first time ever, and I'm going back a little bit, but it really does have relevance to the story. So when I went back and made Junior Team USA I was my first time ever going to Junior Gold. So I didn't know what people really put in to make that. I just kind of had early success. I go back the second year from being a nobody to people being like, "Oh my God, there's Ronnie Sparks." So I'm like, I can't bowl bad in front of these people. I'm a suck. They're gonna think I suck. I don't want that. I just got to this. I don't want them to think I suck. And I bombed at Junior Team that year for Junior Gold. I did terrible. I was one of the picks to win between me and PJ. And that was a world year for the youth. And I didn't even get to the top 16. So I had a little mental breakdown. That's when I really, like I told you guys about when I went to Team USA in camp, I locked in with Dr. Dean. And he really taught me that the huge deal of whatever anybody thinks of you is none of your business. They can think you suck and you can go win 10 PBA titles. Guess what? They can still think you suck. So it was more of then being free to play, not afraid to fail. So fast forward into that, I was ready to go in and I was ready to accept the role as a champion because I worked towards it. I felt like I like to call myself a champ. So it was like nice to have the hardware with it. So I felt like I was prepared because I walked in as a champ before I had the Eagle, so it was just nice to have that I always like to tell people like, we're bringing the creativity and the energy to everything. It's only something until we touch it. So it was nice for me to do my part in the bowling community of complimenting the Eagle for that year, of bringing my special sauce to it. So it was, and I was ready to take on my responsibility of being a champion, and taking on everything that comes with it.
So now being a decade into your career, at least at the Open Championships, being a champion, seeing the Eagle being announced every year, how has your perception of the event changed from 2009 when you started, knowing, as you mentioned, the responsibility of being a champion, which there's quite a bit to that as well. But tell us about current Ronnie Sparks on the lanes at the OC compared to 2009 and just how you see the event when you walk in the doors.
Like I said, man, I still get that same awe feeling because it's such an awesome event. It's such an awesome, it's so big. It's so cool. There's so much history behind it. So and then like I said, for the emotional connection that I've gone through with it, you're going to get a whiff of that every single time you walk in there, So now, like going in there, like I said, that experience of walking in, that awe is still the same. And then when you hear your name and you get some of the, you get different walks of life, just coming up to you, congratulating you, asking you for advice or just asking you for different things. And that's the reminder, like you said, of your responsibility. And I come in prepared every year for it. I walk into the bowling alley like that because I have to do it for my kids. And I had to start before I could do it for them. I had to do it for me. I had to see myself as that, because you can't do it. And it'd be fake if it's not true, So it was one of those things I was, like I said, ready to do. I was ready to give back, I was ready to show someone like, man, look how much he's enjoying it. And he's done all this and he looks still like he's just in awe, because I am, you know what I mean? And I do appreciate it. And, yeah, it does seem like I'm just maybe distracted because all this stuff is going on. But no, I'm still enjoying the time with my team and having a good time and enjoying the people on the pairs to the left and right of me to show you like, hey, yeah, I know this stuff is crazy, but let's have fun. That's why you're here. That's why you spend the money to come here. It's just because that's why it's taking up all of our time, a lot of our time, right? Because we love it. So let's enjoy this awesome atmosphere and that's what I try to do with it now. When I can see people just a little uneasy because it's so intimidating, I just kind of just go be my version of a breath of fresh air for them, without watering it down, giving them too much of my experience because they got to have their own.
So we are now headed into the 2021 event after a year without the tournament, first time since the 1940s. So the world is going to be different. You're going to be different when we see you again in 2021. We talked about all the things that you've enjoyed and done and been a part of over the last year. Also, you've been putting in a lot of work off the lanes, of course, with bowling shut down, the online stuff. That'll come. That doesn't really go away. You'll have time to get sharp for the 2021 event. But you mentioned Dr. Dean already. You've been doing extra work recently to make sure that you are mentally prepared and ready and strong to make a huge comeback in 2021 and when things get back to normal. Tell us about that. And when we see you in Las Vegas in just a few months, tell us about the Ronnie Sparks we're going to see coming back to the event.
Man, I have just a couple things, right? Because said I'm always trying to I'm just always trying to make improvements. I'm always trying to become a better me. I'm always trying to be live to out my full potential without my fears. So now I'm more trying to get my health underlined. I've been probably a couple months ago, I had started working out with Heather, doing, taking advantage because we couldn't do the gym, and she was sending me a lot of her programs for a lot of the Bowl Fit programs to kind of get me some things down physically to help coming back from the pandemic, for coming back from not getting many shots in. And I'm going to be linking back up with her again here soon. But I wanted to really started getting my mind and my focus back again. So I've been doing different mind classes and but now I'm back into where I'm meditating and like doing like a yoga session where every Thursday where now I have things to work on every day to just.
Uh-oh.
I'm not sure what just happened.
Well, hopefully he'll pop
Ronnie
right back in. Yeah, he'll jump back in. But just really getting to the really fascinating part from last night's conversation too is, when you can't actually physically be on the lanes and to be able to focus on other things and the mental aspect of it, and as you said, meditation and yoga and all the calming things, right? Of course, the pressure of going out there and having to perform at times to support the family, but they're fortunate that Sarah can focus on what needs to happen, at the job, and he can be there taking care of the family and knowing that they're in good hands and she can relax. And, when he gets to go out and bowl, it's fun. It's not to pay the bills or whatever it is. And like, he's in a great, great place.
Yeah, this has probably been one of my favorite episodes of the podcast so far. And, I've enjoyed the opportunity just to sit back and hear the stories here from Ronnie, from your experiences for, we're coming up on, 16, 17 years that you guys have had this connection now, which is pretty awesome. As you said, that's, basically half of his life, maybe a little bit more. So that's been cool to see the progression of the player, because, as you mentioned, like, Ronnie Sparks has been a name on my radar now for probably about that same amount of time from the success he had as a young player, from junior team USA, collegiately. It's just, you see Ronnie Sparks on the roster, you realize he's going to be, a threat to win each and every week. So it's, to hear the journey though, and kind of the experience of life in general kind of taken over is, it was just a very touching conversation just to hear those experiences come out.
Well, and then to go back and talk about the timing of things and just the location and like if you put all those pieces together, it's really again it's a Hollywood script, right? The 2010, both of them winning national championships, going back to El Paso. It's Dad's birthday, like all of these things. We hear about them sometimes in bits and pieces because there's just so much happening at the time, and then you sit back and you look at it as a whole and. Like there's no way he wasn't winning that title, right? 793. You're like, there's no way this can win. But if you know all these other things, you're like, oh, well, if I would have known that at the time, then yeah, it's done. Write the final press release at that point. But man, I just can't wait to see what's in store for not only for Ronnie but for everybody at the OC as it's coming up. It's only a couple months away. Which is hard to believe, May 1st, and things are moving ahead, moving forward. And, in about 90 days, 100 days, we're going to have new champions to talk about and talk to at the OC after so long of being away. And, we've got the Masters and the US Open coming up and the TOCs going on right now. And there's just like this normalcy, this calmness. I think that the world is getting back to normal and we're getting to do what we do. And, there's going to be a whole new group of people that we can have these conversations with in 10 or 15 years here on the Inside the OC podcast when we are super old and looking back and trying to remember all the details.
We're already super old. What are you talking about, Matt?
It looks like getting a message here from Ronnie. We'll see if he can get back on for a minute just to say goodbye. And tell us about what's coming up on Bowl TV next week, what you guys have planned. And I'll type back to him, so I don't want to be rude, but I'm listening. But but go ahead and give us a heads up on next week's podcast and other things.
Absolutely, Matt. So looking ahead to the podcast next week for the PWBA podcast, Jason Thomas and I will be talking to Brianna Cote. So she's been on the podcast before. Definitely one of our favorite players out on tour to chat with. Always does so much for the sport of bowling and the game and the tour. And she came away with a victory at the ITRC Classic during the Kickoff Classic Series. So we talked to Julia Bond a couple of weeks ago. And kind of getting the opportunity to talk to the champions here. So for Bree, her second title, definitely exciting. So we're looking forward to hearing from her on Monday. Bowling Explained is going to be a very unique one. I almost want to bring Jason Thomas in so he can explain it, but we're going to have a pair of brothers joined the show, Cameron and Reese Hurwitz. Cameron is a past junior gold champion. He won in 2019. And then his brother Reese, a collegiate bowler as well. They actually are going to look more on the technical side of bowling balls and keeping bowling balls alive for a little bit longer. So it's very cool. They got a unique company, and they're going to get into a lot of cool nerdy details. So that's all I can say about it. So that's going to be cool. And then inside the OC, will be Timmy Pfeiffer will be joining the show. So I'll be excited to hear from Tim. But it looks like we got Ronnie back. So we'll bring him back into the show. Ronnie, hello again.
Hey. Sorry about that.
I said that's technology. So much good stuff. We talked your phone to death, which is awesome. And,
I know.
A lot of good stuff. So we'll get the final wrap up here. We were getting close anyway, but if you want to finish up your thoughts on just kind of where you are mentally, how you've taken advantage of this time off to get ready for another run in 2021.
Sorry. Like I was saying before, I've now, really got back to my more routine of meditation and yoga and stuff like that because I just, like I said, to be able, if I want to give back, I got to be able to give back at my full potential. You know what I mean? Anything short of that, you're not wasting, but it's almost like not being so extreme, but it's almost a crime. You know what I'm saying? So it's just one of those things that if I want to be able to use my tool of bowling at the highest level that I can, I got to make sure, like I said, I'm not Swiss cheese. I don't have I want my slice to be completely filled in. You know what I'm saying? So I just don't. So with the meditation and the yoga, it's really just helping me see myself true every day, so I can be honest with myself every day, so I can make the best decision for not only, like I said, me, but my family. So my goal for people to, when they see me when I'm gonna be at the USBC championships, is just they're gonna see what talent and focus looks like. You know what I mean? What you can do with when you just ask for yourself for more, and you challenge yourself to it, and while loving yourself. I'm not saying, oh, you need to do more to become something, because I feel like I'm perfectly fine where I'm at. Right? We're perfect before our next step. So it's just one of the things that that's what my goal is to display. It's just a more focused, sharper tool, so I can share more of what I got to offer.
That is great stuff, Ronnie. We appreciate all the terrific insights today, the depth, the honesty, and just looking at your maturity and your growth as a bowler from, again, when we first traveled and did what we do back in 2005 when you were 17 years old, and now all grown up with a wife and kids, and just an awesome grown person. And we can't wait to see what you have in store for us coming up in 2021 and beyond. And for everybody who's tuned in, thank you for joining us on today's episode. If you missed any of it, it was good stuff. Go back and watch it in the archives on Bowl TV. Aaron already gave you the rundown on what's coming up next week. 3 great shows on the horizon, so looking forward to that. Again, Ronnie, thank you for everything today.
Thank you guys for having me.
And Aaron Smith, as always, keeping things moving here on Inside the OC. That is going to do it for today's show. We'll catch you next week here on Bowl TV. But as we say every time, every week, that's the news for now, folks. We'll see you on the lanes.
Good one, guys.